So here's our sign up process. Add your details. Use two-factor authentication using your mobile device. For the new organizational details, make sure to select business entity. That's what you are. In this case, I'm using a company. And you notice I jumped straight into the Getting Started guide. Here we're adding in the details in the settings, noting that we don't have a signatory. We don't have a signatory, and the signatory is an individual who'll sign off on the company tax return. So here I'm adding the signatory, adding all your phone numbers, etc. for the signatory. Don't worry about client groups. That's more if you're an accountant. There's your individual. So we've added the individual, and you can see the individual here as a client, right? So your signatory is the individual, but there we're looking at the company again. Add in the details for the company, including tax file number, trading name, ANZIC code. Don't worry too much about getting the ANZIC code absolutely spot on. There's about 500 of them. Add in what details you can. It'll save you finding errors in your form later. Now, I'm going to show you how to use the Getting Started guide. Remember I mentioned that? That's where you go in to get into that Getting Started guide. And here we are selecting that signatory, right? You added the signatory as an individual, and now you're selecting the signatory. This is how you select. Don't forget to add in the address for the business, or for the company in this case. Back to the Getting Started guide. Now we're nominating Lodgit as the software provider. And you can do that through the ATO Access Manager. You can actually call the ATO to do this, but this is just as easy. Log in with your MyGov ID. You should have one of these. Can't really use the system without one, actually. So we're logging in now. Selecting the entity we want to lodge for, and if you've got a whole lot of entities, you'll select which one that you're adding the software ID for. So in this case, it's for the name of this company. Noting that in this case, I'm just using Andrea and Sam's. It's an arbitrary company I selected out of the ABI register just to provide this video example. So it's a pretty simple process of adding that software ID. You can then run a test. Should tick and go green once you run your test. Back to that Getting Started guide, which you'll keep going back to. Don't worry too much about defining client relationships, but now we're going into importing financials. So there's a bit of a process to this, and here I'm going to show you the knowledge base. We can learn about this if you want to. You import from different systems. We've got integration with QBO, Xero, and MYOB. You can learn how to do either of those. And here we can import the financials. In this case, I'm showing you the Excel example, but you could import from, QBO, MYOB, Xero, or any of these other software applications. There's help guides on each. So let's go back and import that Excel file. So that Excel file, you can see I just used the template there. There is a template. I filled the template. I'm selecting the template that I filled, and now I'm doing an import on it. So just import it. Once you've filled the numbers in, right? Of course, you can just go and manually fill your tax return, but this is a far superior method. And even better if you've got your accounts in something like QuickBooks or Xero or MYOB. So now I'm doing the tax return, adding the tax return in, company tax return in this case. But you can see there, if you had set this up as a trust or a partnership, you can use the same approach for those entities, or a super fund. So most of the details should be filled in. It's the odd bit of information that you'll have to manually put in. And in this case, I'm showing you there's a manual step for interest. So if you've got any interest in your accounts, you can see there the accounting interest is in, but hasn't actually imported the tax value. So you do need to report the tax value manually because there might be some TFN credits. And the same could be said if you were reporting something like dividends earned. And here you can see where I've got those numbers from. So this is the template. This is the simple template that I filled. It's got a profit and loss section. Add in your line items, as many as you like. And we've got a balance sheet section, all those line items. So you can keep it super simple. That interest, as I mentioned, you need to manually key in because there may be some TFN credits. Looking for errors, clicking the validate button to find any errors in the form. Clicking on the cells to go to where the errors are. The system's intelligent, so it'll take you to where the errors are. You can see there's an empty box there for the TFN. Make sure you add that in. Right, now we've finished, cleared out all those errors. We're completing the form. Once it's completed, it pre-lodges with the ATO, gets confirmation that it's going to work, and now you can sign it and lodge it. Now I'm not going to lodge this, but that's as simple as it gets.